Okay, so let's get into this. For this deep dive, we're really trying to do a purely quantitative look at the risks of STDs. We want to move past the fear tactics and just focus on the actual data, the kind of facts you'd want if you were really trying to assess your own risk. And there's one number from the CDC that it changes the whole conversation right from the start.
It really does.
In 2021, they estimated that 1 in 5 people in the U.S. were living with an STD.
1 in 5. That's a 68 million people. It's a staggering number.
It really is.
And what's really interesting is where those numbers are concentrated. The report shows that of the 26 million new infections each year, over half of those are happening to people under the age of 25.
Over half, so it skews really young.
Very young. And it seems the prevalence on, say, college campuses is even higher than in the general population.
Wait, okay, so if the general population is already 1 in 5, what does that actually mean in real terms?
Well, the source breaks it down with some pretty simple math. It suggests that if you have intercourse with just 5 different partners...
Just 5?
Mm-hmm. You are statistically likely to have been with someone who has an STD.
Wow. That is a much lower number than I think most people would guess.
It completely changes the risk calculation, and then you have to look at what's in that risk pool.
Right.
And that's where the research flags what it calls one of the scariest findings.
Which is?
The reality of genital herpes. It's not curable, and it is incredibly common. We're talking 12% of Americans aged 14 to 49.
And it's even higher for women, right?
Yes, it is. It rises to about 16% for women in that same age group.
Which brings up the whole issue of transmission. I mean, how do these numbers stay so high?
That's the core question. And it comes down to two really critical facts that apply across most of these infections.
Okay.
First, for things like chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, HPV, even HIV, most people who are infected show no symptoms at all.
So it's spreading silently.
Completely silently. Asymptomatic spread is the engine of the whole thing.
Okay, hold on. You mentioned trichomoniasis in that list. Just for clarity, we're talking about that parasitic one, right? The one that is curable.
That's right, yes. It's often overlooked, but very common. And the second critical fact is about prevention.
Condoms.
Exactly. People see them as a sort of silver bullet, a panacea, but they're not. I mean, for one, they have about a 2% failure rate, just generally. But more importantly, things like herpes or syphilis, they can be spread by skin-to-skin contact.
So on areas the condom doesn't even cover.
Precisely. The risk is reduced, but it's absolutely not eliminated.
And the cost of that risk, if something gets through, it's huge. The consequences of these things going untreated.
Oh, they're severe. For bacterial infections like chlamydia and gonorrhea, you can be looking at infertility down the road.
And for the others.
For viruses like HIV or even syphilis, if it progresses, they can be fatal without detection and proper management.
But the good news here is that detection is possible. Early treatment makes a huge difference.
A massive difference. It can mitigate almost all of the really severe long-term impacts, which is why the takeaways are so important.
Okay, so let's distill it all down. If you're listening to this, what are the key analytical recommendations from the data? One seems obvious. Get tested before intercourse with a new partner.
A baseline. You have to know your status.
2, if you or your partner are active with multiple people, make testing an annual thing.
At least.
3, and this comes from that 5 partners stat, you have to just acknowledge that intercourse with many partners is statistically extremely risky. The numbers are just stacked against you.
It's just a mathematical reality.
And 4, remember that condoms help, but they are not foolproof. They don't make the risk 0.
Absolutely not. So that means if you do test positive for something, you have an obligation, really, to inform your recent partners. Urge them to get tested because they probably don't know. That's how you break the cycle.
So here's the final thought I'd leave you with. If 1 in 5 Americans has an STD, and most new infections are in people under 25, what does that tell you about the gap between perceived risk and actual risk, when our main defense testing is so often skipped just because it's inconvenient?